Good morning, this is our final evidence, and my name is Maria Renata. Our case is O'Keefe versus Ireland, and we choose this topic today because we think it's very relevant today. It's a main issue that hasn't been stated a lot, for example, in Mexico, and we think it's very important for children to feel safe even in their own school. And we think it's important to know and let people know about this type of cases so they can be aware and they can prevent this type of cases. All these cases mainly focus on a sexual abuse that was committed in 1970 by a teacher in their own private Catholic school. The victim name, as we can see, is Louise O'Keefe, and she was recognized, and they recognized that Ireland failed to protect the children's human right. It's effective because people and even the state thought this wasn't a right thing and this wasn't a relevant case because even the school was related to the church. You can see a timeline on how the key events were leading. In early 1970, Louise O'Keefe, the victim, was sexually abused in her school, and then years later, even multiple students reported abuse in 1998 from the principal and from more teachers. And in late 1998, the abusive teacher was convicted after different and multiple cases. And in 16th of the June of 2009, Louise O'Keefe was officially logged application against rule against before the European Court of Human Rights. And then on 1974, the Grand Chamber ruled that Irish state had a positive obligation and had the reaction and had the right to protect their children. And the court officially ordered a compensation for the damages for this, in the case, the victim, and for future procedural expenses that were through all of her case.
Now let's talk about the legal framework of the case. Louise O'Keefe's human rights were violated because she suffered sexual abuse at school during the 1970s in Ireland. Even though the school was managed by the Catholic Church, the Irish government still had the responsibility to protect students. The court related this case to Article 3 and Article 13 of the European Conventions on Human Rights. The court concluded that Ireland failed to protect children and prevent abuse. The European Court of Human Rights ruled in favor of Louise O'Keefe. The court found Ireland responsible for failing to protect her from abuse at the school. As a result, Ireland was ordered to provide financial compensations for damages and legal expenses. This case by saying important because it showed that governments must protect children in all schools, including religious institutions.
My name is Valeria, and this is the impact and importance of this case. First of all, I would like to say a phrase that maybe can be known for many people and can be not or it works, but set a precedent regarding state responsibility for child protection. And well, I paste now a phrase that I would like to say, and for me it's kind of important to remember, and it is children first. This case set a precedent that maybe the state was not directly involved, was not the one who directly abused a child, who directly have their authorities abuse a child, but was the one responsible to make a safe environment for children. And also, this case set a happy precedent, a legal precedent of the Children First Act of the 2015, and Irish legislation that dictates the mandatory reporting of this type of cases. Maybe you're a teacher, a health worker, and see like a suspicious case, a suspicious action, and you have the responsibility to report that kind of acts. Maybe the child is not totally secure to talk about that, what is happening, but you are the one responsible for that child protection. Also, establish a group to oversee the implementation of child protection policies across government departments, and also force organizations to have protocols for child protection. And well, now we have Latin America. This case doesn't directly happen in Latin America, but it set a precedent more for the governments, the states, that you are not the one who directly abused the child. You are not the one who directly harmed this child, but you are the one responsible to make safe conditions for that child to live a happy life, to have their human rights respected. You are the one responsible to make an environment that have authorities and also safe conditions for that child to live. And that conditions doesn't involve only the physical abuse, but also involves to have health conditions, to have protection services, to doesn't live in poverty, and all that kind of things. Child abuse does for the government side is not only physical abuse; it's also that this child doesn't have the healthy and happy conditions to live their life out. And now the jurisprudence and human rights development. And for me, it's important to remember this case and these from this part of the case for the jurisprudence and human rights development, we can note that it established how to protect human rights when the law is ambiguous or insufficient. In this case, contribute to human rights development by emphasizing a stronger protection for children and survivors of abuse. And for me, the main conclusion is that child abuse from the government side is not only like physical abuse, it's also doesn't make the safe conditions for a child to live a happy life, not only in a physical or abusive or like a directly abused way. It also involves don't make that child have health conditions, don't make that child to live without many sources, many economical sources. It also involves indirectly abuse. Have an environment where a child cannot live a happy life is also abuse. In this case, set the precedent that maybe the government was not who directly act, but it is the one who directly is responsible to make a safe condition for that child. Thank you.